Hi there, my name is Oli Knight. I'm here at Harrington Start at Future Alpha in New York 2026. I'm here today with a very special guest, Federico from XAI. Pleasure to meet you in person.
Nice meeting you, Oliver.
I've been speaking a little bit over LinkedIn the last few days, trying to line up a conversation because I think it's a very apt time with your particular expertise and kind of perspective on systematic trading, being within the kind of commodity space, but not from a bottom-up kind of fundamental angle, which we'll get into. I guess first of all, it would be great for you to just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, personal background, but also kind of what you're building currently, a bit about the background of the firm of XAI, and we can go from there.
Yeah, I'm Federico, Chief Technology Officer at XAI Asset Management. Our core business is to trade futures, multi-asset, liquid futures at mid-frequency and systematic. And the core mandate for our investors is to deliver a diversified, cash-efficient strategy. And it took quite a few years for the flagship product to take shape and form. And so I have joined the company from day one, and so I had to cover many aspects when it comes to building the technological trading infrastructure of the firm, building the product, contributing R&D to the systematic investment. So there are many aspects to it.
One thing which I'm really keen to dive into with you is the reality of kind of building a trading business from the ground up, right? I know you come from a very intense technological background, shall we say. So I'm interested in those decision-making at the start of the journey of launching a fund. How do you decide what the core language that everything's going to be written in is? How do you decide, for example, what your cloud provider is? I'm curious kind of how you came to make those decisions.
Yeah, indeed. I do have a technical background. I studied computational finance in London. And I've been throughout my career, which is perhaps not the longest, as I still have hair and not many white hair, but a couple of times I joined an investment firm from day one and helped them to launch the investment product. And I think it's quite easy to get excited about launching the firm and getting stuck in some of the technical challenges when it comes to getting the business up and running, from selecting where to run your infrastructure, hiring decisions, which niche you want to build, what's your unique selling proposition, etc. So there are many aspects to it. I think one consideration is that it's true that it takes a minimum amount of resources to run and operate a hedge fund. But having done it a couple of times, in this case now a commodity trading advisor, I would say that it's just to get the business up and running, it's less perhaps complex than what might one expect a priori. Once the direction of the business is quite clear, and once you have decided in which niche you want to operate, I think many decisions around which technology to pick and how to frame the problem and the product, the solutions will emerge naturally as you go through it.
I think efficiency is perhaps a core theme, both in terms of what you said just there, in terms of when you're, kind of the reality of building a business from the ground up, but also in terms of your actual offering, in terms of offering, as you said, kind of cash efficient strategies and that sort of thing, right? Is it fair to say that when you're kind of running a startup fund, for example, and looking to scale it, efficiency is almost something that needs to be central to everything you think about?
It has to be, yes. I mean, for the much bigger players that have the luxury perhaps to throw resources and people at the problem, in a resource constrained setting, one has to be perhaps a bit more thoughtful and selective on where to spend time and resources as they're more limited. I think one aspect to it is perhaps when it comes to designing and implementing solutions in a growing business, I think it's sometimes one likes to think the business orders of magnitude ahead and perhaps craft bespoke solutions with that in mind. I think there's a risk of overengineering. I think like when it comes to implementing solutions, it's good to, I think, to think one order of magnitude ahead at a time. As inevitably as the business will grow, what was built in the past will become more and more obsolete, and it's a constant evolution and reinvention and refactoring of the design of the business. So
Yes.
there's an element of giving direction and seeing years in the future, but also an element in practical terms to not go too much ahead of the curve and just solve one problem at a time.
Yes, yes. And I suppose with that in mind, I'm interested when you first kind of started with this business, how much of a sitting back and really thinking we need to have a unique edge to go to market, you know, we need to have this core philosophy. And did you think we have to have it all figured out on day one or even prior to day one? Or is it perhaps, as you kind of said there, more of an iterative evolutionary process?
Yeah, that's a key theme. That's certainly a key theme. So for certain, at the beginning, when the intellectual property of the firm is still being developed, there's certainly the pressure to find as early as possible a credible narrative for prospective investors on what's the niche and the value-add proposition of the firm. I think throughout the years and as time passes by, the edge will emerge naturally from the intellectual property. And so I think if once, like, it's good to be able to be aware that you need to you must distinguish yourself in the industry, otherwise there would no point. You would be a copy of someone else.
Yeah.
But I think that edge has to emerge naturally and must be a reflection of the core skills of your team.
Trying to almost have the image of exactly what you want to create before you have the resources, before you have the experience. Perhaps it's a very difficult task, or a very thankless task, perhaps.
Yeah, I can make a practical example. So as a commodity trading advisors, we trade liquid futures, and there are many other businesses trading liquid futures, multi-asset at our frequency. So we are not going to claim an edge in that area specifically. But after years of contributing research and development efforts, we have developed a systematic strategy which historically has been uncorrelated to other diversified commodity trading business and CTAs. But this came up emerged somewhat naturally from just being aware to try to create your own niche and skills and experience of the firm. So for example, one way that we adopted, practical way we adopted to distinguish ourselves is rather than trading as many exchanges and contracts as possible. So rather than just going in the direction of having a maximally diversified product, we selected a smaller number of instruments to trade, and we are developing more signals and intellectual property about trading a smaller number of contracts, but with a more detailed understanding, if you will. So perhaps we went in the direction of being a little bit more concentrated, while perhaps many other participants are more going in the direction of being diversified.
Doing everything.
Which is understandably there's a sort of free lunch in diversification, but it does also dilute your alpha and edge. So there's many cases to trade off there.
Absolutely, yeah. And I guess finally, I'm just interested from your perspective. Being involved in kind of, as we've been discussing throughout, a scaling business, a scaling fund, right? Is there a particular type of talent or a particular profile in terms of a candidate that you found is actually successful in an environment like yours? Are there any core themes or common denominators, or have you found it's a weird and wonderful collection of different people?
We have interacted with many people, and I would say that we do, for example, for ourselves, we do collaborate with universities. So we get on an annual basis a fresh intake of interns and that sort of stuff. But I think we are still not at the point where we have grown the business where we have a dedicated HR team that
has analysed that.
Perhaps later on you can help us with that. But
But nothing you've picked up on personally, or anything that you look for with successful, people that intern, for example, and maybe you consider bringing them on full time, or?
I think something that we do like to see is like the curiosity and the motivation of solving problems that comes from within, like the genuine curiosity to solve problems. That's a good trait, I think.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You must distinguish yourself in the industry, otherwise there would no point. It would be a copy of someone else.
Yeah.
But I think that edge has to emerge naturally and must be a reflection of the core skills of your team. Rather than trading as many exchanges and contracts as possible, so rather than just going in the direction of having a maximally diversified product, we selected a smaller number of instruments to trade, and we are developing more signals and intellectual property about trading a smaller number of contracts, but with a more detailed understanding,